Howard Stern went after Joe Rogan following Rogan's endorsement of using a drug for parasitic infections, ivermectin, as a treatment for coronavirus. Let's hear what Stern had to say.
I didn't even want to spend a lot of time on COVID and vaccination and all the heads in our country who won't get vaccinations. They're like, I don't want, you guys worship Dr. Fauci. Meanwhile, they go to the doctor and they'll take horse dewormer from a doctor. You know, like I heard Joe Rogan was saying, he says, what are you busting my balls?
I've got COVID,
He goes,
I'm
I
taking
took
a horse dewormer,
and a doctor gave it to me. Well, a doctor would also give you a vaccine. So why take horse dewormer? I don't know. I don't know what's going on. All of a sudden, it's like we don't want to take this vaccine. It was always mandatory when I went to school. Measles, mumps, you name it, polio. You had to have a slew.
We took whatever vaccines they had.
But you notice in every single case when all this anti-science goes right out the window when people end up in the emergency room and they can't breathe and then they go, I should have taken the vaccine. To every one of them, there's never been one that said, I'm so glad I refuse. Yeah, I'm so happy that I can't breathe. This is a wonderful way to die. It was worth it because I didn't take the vaccine. All I'm doing is speaking common sense. We have a cure for this dreaded COVID. And we're not taking it. Take it. Make people take it the same way we take polio vaccines and every other vaccine.
All right, man made himself clear. I agree with everything he said. The one thing I'll add to it though is, remember when Rogan said that he's feeling great, that he threw the kitchen sink at it, right? When he tested positive for COVID, then he listed ivermectin along with monoclonal antibodies, prednisone, I believe he said, which is a steroid. So he's taken all these other things simultaneously. If he believed in the efficacy of a drug meant for parasitic infections, why didn't he just stick to ivermectin and ivermectin alone? Why did he use all these other treatments simultaneously? I don't know. I've wondered about that. But Cenk, what do you think? Is Howard Stern being a little too tough on Joe Rogan?
Okay, so first of all, I like how Joe says, this is when he discovered steroids like prednisone, if you say so. Okay, well, I had to take it. I had to take it for the thing. How about the thing that all the doctors say you actually should take the vaccine? No, that's the one I'm not gonna take. I'm not gonna take that one, but the horse dewormer, to be fair, it's also an animal dewormer. I assume, I hope.
You better get it right, Cenk.
Yeah, you know doctors say it. Doctors say you could take it for humans. Yeah, but not for coronavirus. You could also do chemo for humans. Did you try that, Joe? Well, I mean, doctors do chemo. Doctors do chemo, okay? But if you don't have cancer, it's usually not a good idea, right? So, and neither is medicine meant for tapeworms. If you have tapeworms on top of coronavirus, sure, take the ivermectin too, at the right dosages. So this is obvious stuff. And so the reason why I like that Howard's back and doing this is because apparently you need a couple of loudmouth talk show hosts because you never know which one's gonna make sense at the right time, right?
I know you love that.
Yeah, I do. And look, I grew up on Howard and he said a lot of questionable things, okay? And so, but at the same time, what you gotta like about Howard, and funny enough about Joe too, because we're fair, is that they at least are unafraid to talk. Right?
Brave.
No, but I'm serious.
I hear what you're saying.
No, because a lot of the Democratic politicians tiptoe. They tiptoe.
Yeah, they're politicians.
I know, and then go on MSNBC, tiptoeing all night long. Okay, tiptoe. And what's the #1 cardinal rule of mainstream media? Maybe, I mean, they'd be better off. Well, the #1 rule is don't offend. Don't offend. Oh, no, we can't tell the idiots that they're idiots. Because then we would lose ratings, etc. So it's nice to have a guy who throws bombs for a living, like Howard, who's already enormously rich, and he can come in and go, yeah, I don't care what you think. I don't care if you don't listen to my show. I already have $500 million. Okay, so no, you're a dumbass for taking horse dewormer when all the doctors say you should take the actual cure, which is a vaccine. That is a dumb thing to do. And so he has the luxury of being able to say that, and I'm glad he said it.
Now, I'm curious if you're gonna think the next statement coming from Howard Stern goes too far, because as we've shared with you all before, in fact, in the context of this episode, we talked about how hospitals have become completely overwhelmed with unvaccinated coronavirus patients, and that leads to individuals with other health emergencies being turned away because there aren't enough ICU beds and there aren't enough resources. Well, Howard Stern also addressed that issue, and he had a suggestion. Let's listen.
They're the minority. They do not have the majority opinion about the vaccine. Most of us get it. Do we want to take vaccines for no reason? No, we don't want to take vaccines. We just want to live, and this is something that's now been proven to work. Enough of us have taken it. If you had any hesitation, you can see we all lived. We're doing fine. Guess what? When we get COVID, we don't end up in the hospital, so we don't overload the hospital. So what did I say? I said, we have no time for idiots in this country anymore. We don't want you. We want you to all either go to the hospital or stay home, die there with your COVID. Don't take the cure, but don't clog up our hospitals with your COVID. And when you finally, get it, stay home. Don't bother with science. It's too late. Go f yourself. We just don't have time for you.
Yep, that was quite candid. And so he's essentially saying, like, listen, if you don't believe in the science, if you're not gonna get vaccinated, then don't clog up the hospitals with your illness, stay home and deal with it there. And I'm curious if you agree with him, but I'm also curious if the audience believes what he just said or believes in what he just said. So we're gonna do a poll on this. It's only gonna take place for 2 minutes. So if you're watching and you're part of the live audience, you can partake at our Twitch channel at twitch.tv/TYT. The question is, should hospitals deny care to anti-vax patients, giving priority to those who have heeded CDC guidance and taken the vaccine? Yes, deny the anti-vaxxers, or no, give everyone the same care regardless of vaccination status. Cenk, what do you think?
Yeah, so look, that's why I say sometimes you need bomb throwers, because so we throw plenty of bombs, but we have to stick to things that we're gonna be held accountable for. How do we get held accountable and Howard doesn't, right? Because at some point we're gonna help a wonderful progressive politician who can make a great difference in the country, and the mainstream media is going to attack us. And because that's what they do. And they'll say, didn't you once say they shouldn't go to the hospital? So is it, well, we were being facetious because it was ridiculous that they weren't taking the vaccines, etc. Nope, headline, wonderful progressive. Of course, they won't say wonderful progressive. They'll just fill in the blank name, right? Of course not. So let's say Nancy Brown, let's say that she's a progressive. Nancy Brown agrees with Cenk Uygur, who said all Republicans should die and not go to the hospital.
Whatever, right? Though, they'll attack for any reason, it doesn't matter. But like, what do you genuinely think?
No, look, at the end of the day, we actually care about humanity. Of course they should go to the hospital, right? But we get frustrated and want to agree with Howard, right? Like, hey, if you're gonna, and we've said this on the show many times, if you're gonna say that you don't believe doctors and that's why you didn't take the vaccine, well then what are you going to the doctor for after you get coronavirus? I thought you didn't believe in doctors. So why don't you go to your local vet and stuff some horse paste in your ears and see how that works out for you? Okay, so, but at the end of the day, do I really actually not want you to go to the hospital? No, you gotta go to the hospital, otherwise you're gonna die, you morons.
Yeah, I agree with you. I despite my insane level of frustration at this point among the unvaccinated, I'm not in favor of denying care to anybody, regardless of how frustrating and annoying I find these people, right? We need to provide care, but we also have to think about the other side of it, which is people who have other health emergencies are gonna be turned away. And really, I think the best answer or solution to this is, sure, the vaccine mandate that Biden has implemented, it helps to some extent. I wanna note that it only applies to federal workers, and in addition to that, OSHA is requiring companies with 100 employees or more to either make the employees get vaccinated, and if they deny vaccination, then they have to get tested every week. That's not really a strong vaccine mandate, to keep it real. But what I would do as a lawmaker is propose and fight to pass a another round of $2,000 stimulus, but only people who are vaccinated get it. I promise you people are getting vaccinated.
Yeah, look, here's another solution that I know people won't do, and it's probably too hard to administer. But if you're talking about fairness, so we did the story earlier in the show about the guy in Alabama, couldn't get into a hospital, had to go 200 miles away because all the beds are taken by the COVID idiots. So one thing you could do as a hospital, say, hey, if you're unvaccinated and you have coronavirus and we need an ICU bed for someone who's also sick, okay? No, you got the last guy in, you gotta go, okay? No, the guy who had the cardiac problem, he's going into an ICU unit. You didn't get vaccinated, you're gonna go 200 miles to another hospital.
Well, Cenk, our audience on Twitch, twitch.tv/TYT, is strong, has a stronger opinion than you do. This is insane. So should hospitals deny care to anti-vax patients? 77% said yes, deny anti-vaxxers.
You know why? Because I don't know that they genuinely mean it. Maybe you do. I mean, you voted that way, but mainly it's a frustration. For God's sake, when are you gonna ever do something that's rational? And we gotta deal with the consequences of your idiocy. And that's why Howard said what he said too, but I'll disagree with one thing that Howard said. He said none of them refused the treatment, and on their deathbed, they're not like, hey, I regret it. Every one of them says they regret it, something along those lines, right? You heard the tape right there. That was true in the beginning, it was like 100% in the beginning. Now they're growing cases or from their hospital beds, like, if only I had ivermectin, right? And so the lunacy never ends. So of course, and now we told you they were gonna start blaming the doctors. Next story we have, they've started blaming the doctors for their own stupid decisions. And that we can all agree on, except the ignorant. There are a lot of great ways to watch the Young Turks, but is there a best way? Of course, the best way is to watch live. Tune in weekdays, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. You get our uncensored, unapologetic version of the news that you won't get anywhere else. Watch us live.